So thank you everyone for coming here. My name is Evan Mooney. I'm a second-year medical student, and today I'm going to be introducing our speaker. And before I do so, if everyone could turn their cameras on really quick so she can see everyone's bright and shiny faces for the day. During the presentation, you're more than welcome to turn those off, but just for the introduction, if you wouldn't mind. All right, so Maureen Heffernan is the CEO and president of Scissortail Park Foundation, as well as the Myriad Gardens Foundation. She was previously director of the Coastal Maine Gardens in Boothbay, Maine, and has worked for other gardens, including Blooms in Bressingham in Europe, a Great Castle Estate in Ireland, Cleveland Botanical Garden, and New York Botanical Garden. Maureen grew up in Ohio on a large family farm as a free-range child and was surrounded by outdoor spaces and Concord grape farming. She received her bachelor's in sociology from Fordham University and then studied horticulture at Ohio State University. All right, whenever you're ready, feel free to get started.
Okay, well, thank you very much. And thank you so much for inviting me to participate. I'm really delighted to do so, especially to a group that is future doctors because the health, I think, of what parks can do for people is really enormous. So I'm happy to talk about that today with everybody. I'm the head of Scissortail Park Foundation, Myriad Gardens Foundation. Though both are private nonprofits in a public-private partnership with the city of Oklahoma City. So our responsibility is to manage these two sites and also raise funds. So we get funds from the city, but we also do a lot of fundraising and earn revenue. So that's just a little bit about what we do in our foundations. Let's see, I'm trying to advance the slide here. Okay, well, Scissortail Park, I'm going to focus on this today. And it opened about 2 years ago in September of 2019, and it was about 10 years in the making. And Scissortail Park is really a very innovative, wonderful new urban park. And there's a whole wave of development over the last, especially 10 years, and it continues to accelerate in really top design firms, bringing a lot of great thinking, a lot of new urbanism concepts and walkability and how to really improve the quality of life, especially in urban areas. So there's just been this really tremendous and exciting development of urban parks. And these aren't the regular parks that a lot of people might think of. They have features and resources and amenities that are very different from just swing sets and open fields, kind of like the parks, at least that I grew up with. So this is a whole different level of investment in urban areas, and Scissortail Park in Oklahoma is kind of a poster child of what you can do when you think big, work together, take a forlorn, abandoned urban site and turn it into something really pretty incredible. This is the layout of Scissortail Park. It is a total of 70 acres. The upper park, which is the section in the foreground where it says Great Lawn, that was opened in 2019. Maybe some of you came to the Big Kings of Leon concert, but it opened to great fanfare. And since then, it has just had tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of visitors. The L shape at the top of the screen, that is going to open this September, in late September. This is the second half of the park. It's connected by Skydance Bridge over I-40, and that is going to have features that the upper park doesn't have. It will have basketball and soccer, and pickleball, a futsal court, and more walking trails. It will connect just about right up to the river, so it can connect into bike trails and things like that. So the thinking behind this is that by adding this kind of green belt or green connections, it really, it motivates people to walk, to bike, to get to these places because they're, once you get there, you can be away from roads and traffic and connect to other bike trails and things. So it's really very much a forward-thinking plan for the city. And around it, if you haven't been there, there's a new Omni Hotel. Right across the street from the Upper Park, there's a huge convention center, and there'll be more development happening around the park. The Upper Park has some great features for people, and it's designed to be an active space. It's designed to be a relaxing place, and it's designed to be a place where the community gathers. So with these kinds of parks, there's so many health benefits. There's obviously the physical health just by walking or biking or moving. And we have lots of programs you'll see in a second to foster that. But it's also a wonderful mental health spot too, for relaxation, for beauty, quiet, peace. It really is a mind-body prescription. This is an overview of the Upper Park, and you can see the development that was planned around it, the convention center, the hotel, Paycom. So it's right downtown. It really is we call it a park for everyone, really trying to encourage the entire community, all neighborhoods to come and use the park. And then it has a great sense of unity for the community by having a really diverse mix of people be there. This is just some more layouts of how it was all planned. Again, very well thought through, from public transportation to being near the Myriad Gardens. So right across, you just walk a block from our green space to that green space to the river. So it's been very well planned out for the future growth of the city. This is just, again, some more orientation. You can see that the pink above the Upper Park there with the lake is where the Myriad Gardens is. So it connects right from the heart of downtown to the river. And that was a large visionary project that the city started many years ago called Core to Shore. So from the core of the city, they wanted to build out a green belt to connect to the river. And so if you hear that core to shore, that's what that is. So this is, I want to walk you through the park and just show you all the activities that we have there. The reason I entitled this presentation a prescription, I think it was in the Northwest, if I'm correct, but there was a group of doctors or some medical complex, and they started writing prescriptions for their patients to go to a park 3 times a week and just walk or relax. So I think that that's probably not a bad idea for medical students to think about, the sense of prescriptions for what people can actually do. And over time, those wonderful habits can really make an improvement in their physical and mental health. So this is Scissortail Park. You can see it's right downtown. It's got a beautiful sky outline for people to enjoy. It's divided into 2 big areas. There's a great lawn at the top that has a stage, all kinds of programs there. Most all of them are free. A lake where we have boating, but really the big health advance here is all of the walking paths. And when you get to Scissortail Park, it really forces you to walk. And it kind of pulls you along with really good design. I think that future of cities really depends on the quality of life, I think, on the level of brilliance that landscape architects can bring to projects like this. So they kind of make you do something and you don't even know you're doing it. And I find that so true with the park. You park and you stop and you start on a path, and all of a sudden it just leads you to an area and you just want to keep going around the bend to see what you're going to find. So when you see this design like this, again, there's so much thought into it that it's one of those things that you get people to do something and they aren't aware of it, so it doesn't feel like a prescription, but they end up really enjoying it. And when they come and they walk, they have to walk a lot, and if they come frequently, they really start to walk, and it builds up that habit. This is another view of the park. It's got all kinds of healthy activities for people, whether you're an individual, families. There's a playground there in the middle, and there's all kinds of creative play equipment. In the lower right-hand of the slide is a water feature. And it's quite a large feature, and kids can play in it. It's really great for parents to come and just sit and watch the kids have fun. The lake is used for boating. It's also used as just a beautiful, tranquil scenery for people to enjoy. Again, lots of walking trails. And the park is still very young, so a lot of the gardens and trees are quite immature at this point. So over time, it's just going to become more beautiful, more lush, and it will feel even more as an urban escape for people. This is one of our concerts. We do free concerts throughout spring through fall. And again, it's a great way for people to gather in the sense of community as a form of mental health as well. Lake. And again, it's really great how people get there, and that you just have to move. So it's a really healthy place to visit, between water features, play, the beauty of it. We have started a farmers market, and a lot of this was done to build on the health of the park, or the difference it could make in the community. So we're really proud of this program. It's been really successful. This will be our third year coming up. It opens in April. It's every Saturday, April through the end of October. We have about 50 farmers, producers. All of them are grown in Oklahoma. Everything from fresh produce and flowers to meats and fruits and baked goods. And it's really a wonderful place to spend a Saturday morning. And we are partnering with the SNAP food stamp program. So we are growing the group that comes to this market and buying healthy foods. So that has been a great success that we're proud to have for the community. And this year we're growing it even more. We're adding more vendors to it. Here's the park. Here's our boats. And Union Station, you can see in the background, that's the old main train station of Oklahoma City. It was built in the late 20s, and it stopped being an active train station, I think, in the early 50s. And we're going to be renovating that fully, so that will be a new attraction and activity area in the park in a couple of years. Yes. We recently, last year, we stocked the lake with all kinds of different fish. So we'll be opening it up for fishing for people as well to enjoy. So lots of moms with strollers, a lot of intergenerational folks. And then we layer on activities. And we try to do a lot of activities that get people obviously outdoors, but also moving and being engaged. I really want to, when people come to the park, hopefully have as few screens as possible. So we try to engage them so that they kind of get away from screens for a while and just kind of be present outdoors. This is a roller rink that we have at the park. Again, we wanted to add more activity and places for all ages to move and exercise. It's also a source of revenue for us, but it's primarily things to get people out and moving. We have different fun activities and theme nights, so that will be opening on weekends in April for the season this year. And we do lots and lots of exercise programs, and we use our stage, we use our lawns, and this is a really, I think people love, instead of going into a studio in an indoor space, they love coming out to the parks. And during the height of the pandemic over the last 2 years, parks were really a place where people could go out and feel comfortable walking around. So I think the importance of parks were really underscored during the last 2 years. And lots of creative play for kids in our playgrounds, climbing walls. The photo on the left is geared more for adults and seniors too, to come out and use the park as an exercise site. And we partner with a lot of community organizations that have an interest in whether it's sports or other types of physical activities. And we really invite them to come into the park to add to all of the activities for people to enjoy. But one of the best things about the park is just walking around it. This promenade feature, which goes from the top to the bottom of the park. And when the lower park opens later this year, you'll walk over Skydance Bridge and you can walk all the way to the river. So it's a walk you don't mind taking. It's beautiful and relaxing. So I think we have walking clubs we're establishing, and I want to do more with some senior walking clubs so we can make the park a little more senior friendly. But just the walking is huge, and biking, having a safe connection from the core to shore is really taking the fruits of all the planning is really starting to take shape. Again, just walking. I love to see whole generations of people, families coming out and enjoying the park. Dogs are huge. A lot of people who live downtown especially come and walk their dog there. And it also provides socialization too. There's a lot of studies now about kind of an epidemic of loneliness in the country. And I think the park helps to address that issue as well. There's lots of places to socialize informally, or just being out and around people is really important. We just had some snow, so we have a sledding in the hill for families to enjoy. So that's the upper park. This is one of the designs that they had before it was even built, and so it's nice to see the park actually meeting that expectation. In addition to those features, we really are emphasizing gardens and trees. In fact, we applied for and got official arboretum status through the organization that does that nationally, based in Chicago. So we really are putting an emphasis on the beauty of the green space there. Again, just to delight people, just to make them happy. I mean, seeing colors, it just makes people happy and joyful. So we really are emphasizing that. Wildlife, we're trying to build up more wildlife in the park in a safe way and manage that. We hope to put in more bird feeders and things like that. So as the park matures and the trees grow larger, we can have a sense of some wildlife there that people can learn about and enjoy. Lots of color. We're putting in native plants that attract and sustain monarch butterflies especially. And we will be starting school field trips, hopefully, next September, where kids can learn more about some of the nature and ecosystems and how they can help the environment. We're trying to work with public artists to do some fun public art that people love to discover. This was a bird sculpture by 2 local artists. And the park has been designed, this is also an interesting new wave of a design approach to public spaces and green spaces, is this kind of semi-wild approach. It's kind of called rewilding. And I really love it because it's a relaxed landscape. It's not a tightly planted kind of old Victorian, everything was in straight lines and geometric. This is, it takes a lot of work to make it look natural, but it's really a lovely, I think visually, it's a very relaxing, beautiful landscape for people to enjoy the sense of kind of wildflower landscapes. More wildlife. Again, lots of people just use it to sit and relax in a space like that. I think it just does enormous for your mental health to have places like this to go to enjoy. Families. This is the Perch. This is the seasonal cafe that we operate, and we're trying to keep the food there mostly very healthy options for the most part. That's what we're trying to offer at that site. We also have Spark, which is a cafe at the other side of the park, but this is the one we operate, and we're trying to buy local and keep it as healthy as possible. This part of the presentation, I wanted to give you a sneak peek at the lower park. This is another about 32 acres that will be opening in September. And again, you'll access it if you're at the upper park. You walk across the Skydance Bridge and then you enter into the lower park. So this is just to get your bearings again. You can see the lower park goes almost right to the Oklahoma River. So this is building it. It's a huge project. It's been underway for about 2 years now and getting this built. And you can see it taking shape. Again, lots of walking paths through here. There's a large hill at the very end, which you'll see taking shape here. The driveway that you see on the left, which isn't paved yet, that's the main promenade that connects with the main promenade of the upper park. So I haven't actually measured this exactly. I really need to, but it's probably close to a mile. And so again, we're going to be putting markers there, you know, walk this one time or twice, and it's 1 mile, 2 miles. So it gets people to have a goal. They love a goal to say, oh, I just walked 2 miles or 1. And so we'll be starting to add these throughout the park too, to motivate people to do that. This is the end of the park, the southern end of the park where it ends. And that is a large hill that's being developed there. And there's some beautiful views on the top. It will serve as a kind of natural amphitheater to have musical and some theater productions at that end of the park. These are some of the sidewalks taking shape. And it's so transformational. This site, I don't know if anyone has seen this before this was built, but a lot of this was junkyards and old buildings and weedy fields and just pretty forlorn urban landscape. And now it's being transformed, and it's part of the MAPS projects. It's a MAPS 3 project where a tax is helping to pay for all of these major projects that are improving the city. So it's a great way to show how when a community comes together and thinks big, you can make these things happen that everybody enjoys. And it's just a incredible quantum leap of improvement for the quality of life in Oklahoma City. This is another view. The components of this park, we wanted to make it different from the upper park. So at the very top there, you can see where some of the sports courts will be, a soccer field, pickleball, basketball. A futsal court is kind of a smaller soccer field. We'll be having that too. But one really great feature we're adding here, which is very new, is called a woodland nature play. We've kept a lot of mature trees that were growing in that area. And this is kind of a pretty big trend too around the country. It was big in Europe, it still is, but it's a nature play. So instead of a playground with built equipment, it's really using natural materials for kids to play with and use their imagination. So old logs or boulders to climb on, or places to build a fort out of branches, or so things like that we'll be putting in there. And we'll be programming that too. So kids can come and learn how to build a birdhouse, or they may, or build forts, as I mentioned, or things out of natural materials. So I think this is going to be a really innovative space for kids to play and develop in there as well. This is another view of the park. You can see the hill there at the southern end. Lots of trees that we'll be planting in this lower park. We planted almost 1,000 in the upper park. And adding trees is so important to an urban environment, just for the health, for the mental health, shade, climate control. So that's why we wanted to have arboretum status, and we'll be labeling all of our trees and having tree education programs and encouraging people to plant trees in their communities, because again, it really makes a difference in the quality of life in your home, yard, or the community. These are just some more views of the park, the promenade that will continue down to the river. And again, this kind of wild landscape, we're also trying to build in a sense of place. So we're in natural prairie lands here. So a lot of native grasses, native prairie flowers. So when you're walking this, you really kind of feel like you're out in some natural areas. Again, just for the beauty of it, for the relaxation, for the joy that it brings people, which everyone needs more of that. This is a close-up of some of the features in this nature play area that is really new to Oklahoma City, that I think kids and families are really going to enjoy. And I think it gives kids that window when they're really young, a sense of connection with nature, to encourage, foster a sense of fascination with nature, a bonding, so to speak, with kids, especially when they're young. Because if they can get that when they're young, it can carry them through their life and really provide a lot of joy and interest, especially gardening and appreciating being out in nature. So all of that is what we're trying to do as well there, and Myriad Gardens too. Just some other, you can see as things really grow and mature, in the next 5 years and 10 years, the park will look very different, very leafy, almost like kind of a curated urban forest. It will really be a tranquil place to visit, a real escape. We'll have a sports pavilion down by the sports court, so there'll be a cafe there, soccer fields. You can see that. We hope down the road to build some community gardens in this lower park area. This is looking towards the south, and we have all of the MAPS programs come with a art budget. 2% of the project is spent on public artwork, so we have some really exciting artwork we'll be putting into that space and in the upper park later this year. Another look. All right, well, that is Myriad Gardens. So I wanted, or sorry, the Scissortail Park. I wanted to just show you a little bit about Myriad Gardens too, because again, botanical gardens around the country are really recognizing, they have recognized, but it just becomes emphasized even more, the need for beautiful green spaces for people to enjoy. So we are all about that at Myriad Gardens too. And if you have a chance to come to the gardens in March, kind of late March and April, when our tulips are blooming, you can really see the joy and delight that it gives people. It's just this rush of happiness that people see in the spring. I mean, these bright colors that people are just drawn to it. So that really is part of our mission, the sense of beauty in the community for people to enjoy at a scale that they can't do themselves in their most homes. So we really provide this wow feature for people in our community. And again, it's something that's free. This is all free. A lot of botanical gardens charge a fee to get into their grounds, but Myriad Gardens is one of the few ones in the country that's open at all times for everyone to enjoy. So there's no economic barrier to enjoy that multiple times. Fish. These are our gardens at Myriad. Water features. This is a trellis area. We do a lot of weddings here and programming, and it's just a lovely place to sit and relax. So you could see how as future doctors, I mean, prescribing visits to parks could be a very, very healthy thing for people to do on a regular basis. We have a garden fair. We encourage people to plant. We have lots of programs to encourage people to become successful gardeners, because that is a wonderful activity for people to do for their health. Lots of walking. We have a carousel just for fun. Our playgrounds are so active all year round, the kids playing, enjoying that space, people coming together and a little bit of socializing. We have a water feature here in the summer for kids. Right across the street, we manage another basketball court and a small soccer field. We try all kinds of exercise programs. This is yoga out on the lake. So we could do yoga all the time and it just seems to sell out. We started a bike ride years ago called the Full Moon Bike Ride. And it gets really hot in the summer, obviously, in Oklahoma City. So we thought, well, let's do an evening bike ride and let's do that on the night of the full moon once a month from May through October. And it's really built up to be, sometimes we'll have hundreds of bikers on a full moon bike ride for about an hour. And again, it's a little bit of health and movement. It's a lot of socialization. It's just a fun way to get together and bike in the evening. So a lot of places like ours and parks, we're trying to do things like this to activate downtowns, make them more vibrant and interesting and fun, and also the sense of community and health as well. And we have an outdoor ice rink here that we manage. And I'm showing you this picture. It's kind of an apocalyptic project we're undertaking right now, but we have a conservatory here, the Crystal Bridge Conservatory. It opened in 1988, and it was badly in need of an upgrade. And so we were able to raise, or are raising right now, about $11 million. And we are, this is a picture of it where we just gutted it. And we'll be reopening it later this year in November. And this is going to provide an amazing place for people to visit, especially in the wintertime, and be able to be in this gorgeous, lush, tropical and arid displays of plants, along with new water features and lots of color. And so this is going to be another wonderful feature to add to the Myriad Gardens. And with the outdoor gardens beautifully redesigned about 10 years ago, and then upgrading our Crystal Bridge, we are really aspiring to be one of the top urban botanical gardens in the country. So we're excited to be able to do this work, but it's always with the mission to educate people, delight them, raise the quality of life in the city. So that's why I think parks and green spaces and gardens really can contribute to people's holistic health. And it's great when other people like yourself recognize that and encourage people to participate and visit them. So happy to answer any questions or comments on our spaces.
Right. Well, thank you. First, thank you very much. That's wonderful. I had no idea about all those new things that were coming, so I'm very excited to see all those things come to fruition. So we will open up questions. If anyone's feeling particularly brave, they can always turn on their camera and ask away. If not, you can put those in the chat. But we do ask if you could turn your cameras on for the question asking portion. So if anyone has any, feel free. If not, I'll get started. And I was just curious, how exactly did you first get involved with, I guess, gardening projects and really a focus on these outdoor spaces?
I'm sorry, how did I personally, or how did the city?
You personally.
Oh, well, I guess briefly, I was fortunate enough to grow up on a beautiful farm in Northeast Ohio. So I think, again, as a kid, I just grew up in forests and fields and creeks and all of those things. I just had this love of nature and joy in it. So I didn't know what I wanted to do in life, but I went to school in New York City and worked at the New York Botanical Garden as a student, and just fell in love with it, and the beauty and the fascination and the interest, and seeing how people reacted to the gardens and used them. That kind of started me on my career path, and then I went on to study horticulture and work at different places. So that's why, for me, I've done a lot of work in children's gardening, helping to design some projects, and wrote a book on it. And so that's why I think it's really great to get kids involved at that young age, when they're really open and have a lot of curiosity about being outdoors, and getting them to garden and plant or do things in nature. So we really have an emphasis on that. And I just know from my own experience how much that can improve your life throughout your whole lifetime. But you got to get kids when they're young a lot of times. So that's why we do that.
Okay, do we have any other questions? I did actually have another one. I was just curious. It seems kind of like a no-brainer to put in a beautiful park in the city just to give people the opportunity to be outside. But I was curious if you faced any hurdles or challenges in getting places like Scissortail built.
Well, these projects, I think from start to finish, I mean, when they first envisioned MAPS 3, that was probably, oh gosh, I want to say at least 13 years ago or so. This took a good decade or more to develop. So it's hugely complex. One of the challenging things is obviously where to build it, and then you have to piece together the properties, eminent domain issues, and buying the property, so they're hugely complex projects to do. They take many years from start to finish. But Oklahoma was really lucky in that it had this 70 acres available right near the downtown. That's almost unheard of in many other cities. So the city was very visionary in identifying this land and making this happen and protect that land from future development around it. So the MAPS programs have been tremendous for the city, but I think this one in particular is really one of the most visible and probably one of the most used ones of all the various projects. So I think the city deserves an incredible amount of praise for how they did this, and they all pulled together, and that the community passed this penny tax, the sales tax, that has funded all of these major projects that have really made the city a much better place to live. And with green spaces too, they're finding all over the country that when you build these really well-planned green spaces, that they raise the value around them. People want to live around them. They want to develop around them. So they can really transform neighborhoods for the better. So they're great for economic development as well as just individuals and quality of life.
I had a question. So I know you've led many projects and many different gardens and everything like that. Are there any unique problems that you faced or challenges that you faced whenever designing this stuff for Oklahoma City?
Well, the design team that designed Scissortail Park is Hargraves and Associates. They're a top landscape architecture firm. They've done a number of parks around the world, really. They're really just top notch. So they were the lead designers. I guess the big, I think the challenges are, well, you're always working with a budget, so there are things that you have to prioritize. And then I think it's trying to get the community's input. What does the community, what would they like to see out of it? And so at the start of that project, they did a large survey throughout the city and asked people what they wanted to see and have in the park, what do they want to do? And that varies greatly. And so they compiled all of that, and they actually were able to put all of those features into this park, which was pretty incredible. So that's why I think the park is so successful, because it listened to the community needs, what they wanted, and designed that into the park. So that's, if you don't do that, your park won't be as, I think, used and appreciated, but they did that, and they're just an excellent firm in general. So it worked out.
Well, thank you so much. We're winding down on time, so I just wanted to say thank you again, and thank you for all your hard work and the beautiful additions to the city. They really are wonderful.
Well, thanks. I hope you can all come out and visit the park and the gardens.
Right. Take care.